Hey everyone, so I want to talk about something that's going to surprise a lot of you today. We all know vegetables are supposed to be healthy, right? But here's what nobody really tells you if you're managing diabetes. Not all vegetables are created equal, and some of them can actually work against your blood sugar control in ways you wouldn't expect. I'm not saying vegetables are bad. What I am saying is that understanding which vegetables have a bigger impact on your blood sugar can literally be the difference between staying in your target range and dealing with those frustrating spikes throughout the day. So let's dive into 4 vegetables that if you're diabetic or prediabetic, you really need to approach with caution. Number 1, white potatoes. And yeah, I know this one hurts because potatoes are everywhere. But here's the thing. The glycemic index of white potatoes ranges from around 65 to as high as 95 depending on how they're prepared. To put that in perspective, pure glucose has a glycemic index of 100. So when you eat mashed potatoes or French fries, you're essentially giving your body something that acts almost like pure sugar in terms of blood glucose impact. According to studies published in major population health journals, high consumption of potatoes has been specifically linked to increased risk of type 2 diabetes. The reason this happens comes down to how potatoes are structured. At a molecular level, they're incredibly high in rapidly digestible starch. One medium-baked potato contains about 37 grams of carbohydrates. That's more than 2 slices of white bread. Now, I'm not saying you can never eat a potato again. What I am saying is you need to be strategic. Small portions, eaten with the skin on for extra fiber, paired with protein and fat to slow down digestion, and definitely not as a daily staple. The second vegetable is sweet corn. This one surprises people because corn feels healthy, right? But sweet corn sits in that medium to borderline high glycemic index range, typically between 52 and 60s. One medium ear of corn contains about 29 grams of carbohydrates. And unlike some vegetables where you might eat just a small amount, corn is the kind of thing people tend to eat a lot of. Here's what makes corn tricky. It's almost never eaten alone. Rice and corn, beans and corn, cornbread. When you stack these carbohydrates together in one meal, that's when you see the real blood sugar spike. Research shows that it's not just about the glycemic index of individual foods, it's about the glycemic load of your entire meal. And corn has this sneaky way of pushing your total meal. Carbohydrate count way higher than you realize. The other issue with corn is how it's processed. Corn chips have a glycemic index between 72 and 75. Cornmeal is between 68 and 70. So even though fresh sweet corn in moderation might be okay, the corn-based products that surround us are definitely working against blood sugar control. Number 3 is beetroot, and this is one that genuinely shocks people. Because beets have this health food reputation, they're rich in antioxidants, and there's research suggesting they might help with blood pressure. All of that is true, but if you're managing diabetes, you need to understand what beets are doing to your blood sugar. Beetroot has a glycemic index of 61 to 64, depending on how it's prepared. Raw beets are on the lower end at around 32, but once you cook them, which is how most people eat beets, that number jumps significantly. 1 cup of cooked sliced beets contains about 17 grams of carbohydrates, and 9 of those grams are sugar. That's more sugar than a lot of fruits that diabetics are typically warned about. Now, the research on beets and diabetes is actually really interesting because it's mixed. Some small studies have suggested that beetroot juice might help with insulin resistance, but other research with people who already have type 2 diabetes found no improvement from daily beetroot juice consumption. The bottom line with beets? They're not poison, and they have nutritional benefits. But treating them like a free food is a mistake if you're managing diabetes. A small portion, maybe a half cup, shouldn't cause a massive spike. But if you're having beet salad as a main dish or drinking a big glass of beet juice, you're absolutely going to see your blood sugar rise. And the 4th vegetable is pumpkin. Now this one is confusing because pumpkin has a glycemic index of 75. That's high, in the same category as white bread. But here's where it gets interesting. Pumpkin has an incredibly low glycemic load of only 3. What does that mean? Pumpkin is mostly water, like over 90%. There's very little actual carbohydrate in a serving. About 4/5 of a cup contains only 4 grams of carbs. So theoretically, you'd have to eat an enormous amount of pumpkin to actually spike your blood sugar significantly. But here's where diabetics need to be careful. The problem isn't usually plain fresh pumpkin. It's everything we do to it. Pumpkin pie loaded with sugar, Pumpkin spice lattes with syrup. Pumpkin bread made with refined flour. These preparations take a potentially okay vegetable and turn it into a blood sugar nightmare. Research has found some promising things about compounds in pumpkin, potentially improving insulin production, but those studies were done on mice, not humans. What we do know is that pumpkin is packed with vitamin A. It's low in calories and it has fiber. For someone managing diabetes, a small portion of plain, roasted, or steamed pumpkin, incorporated into a balanced meal, probably isn't going to derail your blood sugar. But you have to be honest with yourself about portion, sizes, and preparation methods. So here's what this all comes down to. These 4 vegetables aren't inherently evil. They're not going to destroy your health if you eat them occasionally and mindfully, but they absolutely can interfere with blood sugar control if you're not paying attention to portions, preparation methods, and what else you're eating with them. The research is pretty clear that managing diabetes isn't about completely eliminating foods. It's about understanding how foods affect your individual body and making strategic choices. Multiple studies emphasize that portion control, pairing high glycemic foods with protein and healthy fats, and monitoring your individual response are what actually lead to better outcomes. So my practical advice: don't view these vegetables as forbidden foods, but do view them as foods that require respect and planning. If you're going to have potatoes, make it a small portion with the skin on, and pair it with grilled chicken and leafy greens. If you want corn, add just a small amount to a salad, loaded with low-carb vegetables and protein. Beets? Stick to a quarter or half cup, and always combine them with fat or protein. Pumpkin? Keep it plain and unsweetened. And here's the most important part. Test your own blood sugar response. What spikes your blood glucose might be different from what spikes mine. The only way to know for sure is to check your levels before eating, and then 1 to 2 hours after. That data is gold. The goal isn't to live in fear of vegetables. The goal is to be informed, strategic, and empowered to make choices that keep your blood sugar stable, your energy consistent, and your long-term health protected. Because at the end of the day, managing diabetes successfully is about working with your body, not against it. Thanks for watching, and if you found this helpful, drop a comment below with which of these vegetables surprised you the most. And if you're looking for more evidence-based information on managing diabetes through diet, make sure you're subscribed. See you in the next one.